Welcome back. It is always a good day. When I wake up, I give thanks. And I know that today is a day that I am privileged to introduce you to someone that I've had on the show before, but that I'm just such a big fan of. And I always want to give him an opportunity to tell me what he's up to next. Just a couple quick house cleaning things. Here are my top cities. Unbelievable. I just signed on this morning. Houston, my number one city. Thank you, Houston. I guess everything really is bigger in Texas. New York, New York coming in second. Bristol, Connecticut is my third biggest city. Portland, Oregon is fourth. And Sydney, Australia coming in at fifth. I'm on the West Coast, and for a long time, LA, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, San Diego, all those cities were really supporting me. And for some reason, it's kind of pivoted, and that's okay. 18 countries now downloading the next room. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for the Facebook followers, the Instagram followers, and thank you for your wonderful reviews on the Next Room book. Speaking of books, my daily accountability journal. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, my guest today is Jesse Brisendine. Jesse has been on the show with me before. He is just an amazing young man. He is a motivational speaker. He's an accountability coach. He has a fascinating TED Talk. He pretty much just does it all. He's a really kind and generous person as well. So, Jesse, welcome to the Next Room.
Jane, it's always such a privilege to be able to spend time with you, and congratulations to the growth that you're having since last time we spoke, and congratulations to everybody who has stumbled upon Jane. Stick with her. She takes you on just such an incredible journey. As you already have heard, she has an amazing voice to listen to, and she hosts some fascinating conversations and will I really do think Jane is one of those people that can sometimes just shine this to just the exact light you need in some of the most important moments of your life that you need it. So stick with her. You will never feel like your time has been wasted, and you will always get so much more in out of whatever you put into listening and following along with Jane.
Wow. Okay, Jesse, this is supposed to be about you, not about me, but thank you. Those are just lovely words. Um, Jesse, I'm so excited about the daily accountability journal. I'm one of those people that have been doing a daily gratitude list for, I think I'm going on 5 years now. Every
Awesome.
single morning of my life, I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. And I have an accountability partner, and she emails me her list. We've been doing this. It started as a 30-day challenge. And at the end of the 30 days, we were like, this just feels so good. Let's keep going. So, talk to me about this because I love everything about it. And I have new goals now because of my own accountability journal. What made you want to do this?
That's awesome, Jane. First of all, I love hearing that about the new goals that have come up from it. That's one of the goals of the accountability journal. And similar to you, I think I did, it was 5 years where every day I would post something I was grateful for on social media, and I called it my daily gratitude, or I can't remember exactly what it is, but for 5 years I had that post up there. And then it was wonderful. And the goal with that was is I wanted to connect with more feelings of gratitude. I had remembered hearing this story from Jack Canfield, who authored the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And he had talked about a friend of his who had made it a goal to wake up and be able, and he would not get out of bed until he had a tear of gratitude streaming down his cheek. And he said some days that would take him 30 seconds, some days it might take him 30 minutes. And when I heard that story, I thought, God, I want to do that. I want to tap into that emotion, because I really do believe emotions aren't happening by chance. We're the creators of our emotions, right? We do take influence from the external world, but ultimately we're internally the creators of it. We're the chefs, the head cooks of the kitchen, if you will. So the initial idea with the gratitude posting for me and the daily accountability around that was to get to that tier. And I remember, Jane, I was, oh, this is cool. About 30 days in, I was thinking, this is frustrating. Where's my tier? By 3 months in, I was like, God, this is so frustrating. Where's this crying stuff? I don't feel it all. Where's it at? And it wasn't until 6 months into that process that I was standing outside watching the sunrise. There was a gentle breeze that morning. It just kind of the way the wind hit my face, the sensations that came with it. And all of a sudden there was this tear and I went, wow, son of a gun, there it is. And it was like that unlocked something inside of me. So once I got the gratitude piece down, I really started to delve into journaling as a tool because I heard so many stories of different people about journaling and how powerful it is and how helpful it can be. And I allowed myself, so how I did this was in tears. I allowed myself the first year just to free write whatever came up, just allow journaling, see what I came up with. And then the second year, I, I really dove into journaling. I wanted to go strategic. So I wanted to start to pick journaling apart and look at, okay, what are the things that are essential for me? What are the pieces of this that are helpful? What are the parts that I can kind of trim down and get rid of? Because ultimately, what I wanted it to be is I wanted it to be something that would be succinct, that would be effective, that would be actionable, and that I could fit into my day but use it as a bookend where I could start my day with it, I could end my day with it, but it wasn't a huge time suck because what I learned in the first year is if I allowed myself to go on with no parameters, that sometimes I would just write, which isn't a bad thing, but it wasn't what I was ultimately the goal of it. And I would sometimes write for a half an hour. And while it might have been a nice verbal dump, it wasn't necessarily anything that I took from it that was helping me grow or better myself. So the accountability journal then came from is like, okay, how can I discern down the best of what I've learned about journaling? And how can I mold this in a way that makes it in a really tangible tool that people can use? So whether you're a seasoned journaler or somebody who's been doing gratitude for as long as you have, or if you're somebody who's just new to journaling and has never started because maybe you believe you're not a writer or you don't have time or whatever that is, that it was an actionable and easy to use template for everybody that you could use to help you really accelerate getting from where you are to where you want to be, and maybe in that process help you get clarity on even where it is you want to go to, because I think some of us get stuck with that first, and journaling can be a great way to help extrapolate that out of you.
Yeah, I think, what's great, Jesse, is I've been journaling for a very long time, ever since I was a young girl. But I have learned a lot from this already.
Mm,
And it has motivated me to pull things out that I need to buckle down with, like my yoga practice. Okay. I
mm.
love yoga, but I'll do it and then I won't do it. And then I'll do it and then I won't do it. And when I do it consistently, I feel magnificent. So one of mine was daily yoga. So I love this too, is that it says accountability plus your written goals equals 70% of an increase in your success rate. And that alone, I loved. And then it says if you do something for 30 days, let's talk about the 30-day mark.
I think there's a heartbreaking statistic, Jane, and that statistic is that it's something to the effect of 93% or more of people who set a New Year's resolution or goal have given up on it by the sixth week of the year. And when I was my first career after college, I did personal training. And I can remember that you would see that statistic play out just splendidly in the scope of you'd see all people coming in. It was never January 1st or 3rd because everybody's still partying, doing New Year's and whatnot. But it was always about January 5th, you'd see people start coming in. People show up, they're wearing their brand new workout clothes. This is going to be the year I'm going to do it. And it would always go something like this. The first week of working out, people feel great. They have that good soreness. They feel like they made a positive change. The second week, they step on the scale for the first time. They've seen their weight go down. Their energy's a little bit better. The third week, they're having a hard time getting up in the morning. The soreness is kind of it's lingering longer than they like. Making it fit in with kids and sports and work and everything else. It's harder and harder. The fourth week, you haven't seen as much results as you did by the second week. So you're kind of unmotivated and deterred by why am I pushing myself this hard? By the fifth week, you've missed a few workouts. And by the sixth week, you're saying, oh, what the heck? It was silly for me to even bother trying. And then by the seventh or eighth week of the year, you see all the regulars in the gym who have always been there anyways. And that goal, that statistic is not industry specific, meaning that most of us will stumble in that. And I would argue that I think one of the reasons for it is many of us set goals, but the component of the goal is such a big piece that it's a huge period of time for us to tackle, right? You think about how I remember when I was a little kid, and I think it was in first grade, my teacher used to have this piece of paper that she wrapped around the classroom, and she would count off the days of the school year. There was 180 days in the school year, and every day she'd put one, then two, then three. And I could so vividly remember sitting there, Jane, thinking, oh my God, this is going to go on forever. It is going to be an eternity until I get to get out of school and go play outside again. Because it feels like that when we make really big goals, especially if we don't have those goal enduring muscles built up yet. Those goal
Mm.
enduring muscles are the muscles that we use to endure when things get hard, when it's not as easy as it was in the beginning. Because any of us who have ever begun anything know that in the beginning it's blissful, right? It's new. So even if you stumble, you make some mistakes, you're still learning something. It's exciting. You're trying something out. But it's when all of a sudden you run into that wall, which everybody will in the pursuit of a goal or learning something new. When you run into that wall, and that wall is, I'm still making mistakes and I'm not getting the benefits that I was initially. And so it becomes much more lucrative to leave and do something else or to tell yourself the story. This just isn't for me. The idea of doing it in just 30-day chunks is it's a much more manageable period of time, right? Rather than saying for the year, let's say the year I want to lose 25 pounds, well, let's break it down to 30-day chunks. And what you find is, well, what I really want to do is I want to lose 2 pounds a month. 2 pounds is a much more manageable goal than 25 pounds. And 2 pounds gives you a lot more wiggle room for imperfection or perfection. See, when a lot of us will encounter, when we'll set off on goal achievement, sometimes we think that we have to do all these things. Weight loss is a really interesting one because we think we have to give up all these things. I have to give up my french fries. I have to give up my Coca-Cola. I have to give up my happy hours. And it will feel like that when you're making a big goal, like 25 or 30 pounds. But when you make a smaller goal, or you start to set it in smaller chunks, 2 pounds, you start to realize, wait, I can achieve that goal and there's still space for me to enjoy the stuff I enjoy. Right? If my goal is to increase my income by 30% this year, fantastic. And 30% is a huge number. So what would it look like instead if we broke our goal down and my goal is to increase my income by 2.5% this month? Well, that's a different set of questions, right? Could theoretically sign up one more client this month? Could I theoretically sell 10 more books this much? Could I theoretically? Absolutely. And then what starts to happen is when we look at that in those smaller goals, all we have to do is then replicate that success over time. And then eventually we end up with a larger goal. So the magic of 30 days is it gives us the grace of making some mistakes, keeps us out of overwhelm. The overwhelm usually comes from thinking we have to engage in perfection to achieve those goals. And then ultimately creates a foundation, a series of steps that we can continue to step up on, build on until at the end of the year, we eventually reach what our ultimate goal would be.
I love it. It can be used for everything. I mean,
Absolutely.
honest, it can be used for a weight loss goal, a fitness goal. It can be used for a gratitude goal. It can be used for getting a book written.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you've had, like that desire, like, gee, I want to start my own podcast. You start with 30 days and there's actionable steps. And this is a very simplistic, cool thing to follow. I marked down a couple other things I want to ask you about. Let's talk about my word. It says pick a word that embodies what you're focusing on. Are you talking one word?
One word.
Okay.
One word. You think about, and I'm completely guilty of this too. So everything that is in there is also stuff that I recognize that I found value working on for myself. Part of how I earn an income, put food on my table, a roof over my head is through my language, through my words, through speaking, through running workshops. So I recognize, I'm very acutely aware of how impactful words are and how important they are. I also am aware that especially when my own insecurities or self doubt or questionable voices will pop up, I will tend to overspeak. I use more words than I would need to because my insecurity is well, what if this person doesn't think I'm professional enough or they know knowledgeable enough or whatever it is, right? The idea of one word is what would it be like if you thought of your life, if you thought of your career, you thought of your relationship, whatever it is you're going to focus on, and you were to distill down, because I've been doing this for a while, is distill down thematically, what is the one word, if I gave myself just one, that would really encapsulate what I'm trying to create, what I'm trying to work on, what I'm aiming towards, what I'm wanting to build. And it's really interesting because what you start to find is this, first of all, it's this wonderful foray into our vocabularies and the language that's available to us. But even more so, you eventually land on a word that really speaks to you, it resonates with you. And sometimes we don't hear those words. It's always been there, but we don't hear it because we're so busy yammering on like I am right now. So the idea with the one word is just to give yourself that gift. Identify one thing that really speaks to you, that embodies where you want to put your focus on. And it is magical on how transformational that can be for you.
Hmm. I love that. Okay, talk to me about the QR code too, because you have an accountability thing that you have set up with the QR code. Let's talk about that.
Yep. So there, with the journal, there is a Facebook group that people, optional Facebook group people can join in. The Facebook group will have the community aspect of it. So if people want actual people helping hold with accountability, daily check-ins, those kinds of things, that's a resource that's provided with that. I'm on that group. I'm active in that group several times a week. And, and then additionally, on every page, there's going to be a QR code that's going to be called your daily inspiration. That will take you to some sort of social media posts I've put up over the years. I've been very active on social media for, gosh, since 2011. Up until 3 years ago, I had posted a piece of content every single day for over 10 years straight. And then finally I said, okay, this is getting to be crazy. I need to figure out where my balance is with this. And the idea with the inspiration is it's not just to inspire, but it's something to inspire you more than anything, to think, to consider, to ponder, to question, to play with. Some of it will speak to you. Some of it might be something that you need to sit with or stir on, and then it will speak to you later on. But it's all meant to be just something to help you, put you in a state of growth, of expansion, of evolution.
I love it. It's really simplistic because it has a daily success plan. It says, like you put the date. Today I'm grateful for. You can list daily affirmations. What do I want? Big question. A lot of people do not know what it is they want.
Yep.
Today's 5 most important goals. And sometimes, like you were talking about, I think you make the goals, it's just so unobtainable because it's so big and it's so far away. If you do your goals every day, like what's my goal for today? Maybe it's just sitting down and writing a paragraph. That's a good goal for today if you're writing a book. Today's wins, I like that too, because a lot of times we beat on ourselves instead of saying, "Atta girl, you did a
Yep.
couple good things." Key areas of focus for manana and thoughts, reflections, and big ideas. Jesse, this is a really cool, high functioning, easy place for people to start. And they also have, you've got weekly reflections in here. And you've got great little quotes like trust the process, progress, not perfection. I hear that one a lot in our home. And you also have, I love this little thing. I can do this. I'm holding this up for the YouTube people, where you've got the 30 days here with, you can check it off. Like, for instance, me with my yoga. Okay, am I doing it? Have I done it today? And that really does help. You can give yourself a little star in that box, so to
Yeah.
speak. So, very, very cool. I'm so happy that you decided to put this out. This is really great. It's called My Daily Accountability Journal. Jesse Brisendine is my guest. We had a hard time getting the podcast started today because of a ghost in the machine with technology. And I do know you have a client, so I want to be mindful of your time. Um, is there something you really want to share with the Next Room audience that we haven't touched on?
Yeah, Jane, one thing, and I'll share this just because, as you mentioned earlier, I've been fortunate enough to have conversations with you over the years and been a guest on your show a few times. One of the things that this can be a really helpful tool for is for somebody who is actively healing from the loss of a loved one.
Mm,
And you might frame it in this kind of way. Any of us who have ever lost a loved one know how hard it can be to get up those first few days, maybe those first few weeks. And you might frame it as your 5 most important goals that day are brushing my teeth,
mm,
combing my hair, folding one piece of clothing. cleaning, taking the trash out. Things that we do, we've always done before, but now seem impossible. And the reason you do that, your reason you make those as goals is because, as Jane pointed out with the 30-day plan, it's nice to give yourself a start. It feels good to give yourself a pat on the back, an attaboy or an attagirl. And I would argue that probably no time in our life do we need those attaboys and attagirls more so than when we're grieving the loss of a loved one. You make your 30-day plan focused on that and saying, okay, here's where I'm at right now. In 30 days, I would like to have accomplished this. Now, the key with this is you don't need to shoot for the moon and make it so large. Be generous with yourself, be gracious with yourself doing that. Thoughts and reflections could be used for, just those simple little things like, boy, I did a lot better today when I got up and drank some water right away. I felt a lot better when I ate something early in the day. Or I noticed that when I was sitting outside and I had done a few exercises that I felt closer to the person who I lost. Gosh, wouldn't that be an interesting thing to go out and explore? And I think your audience, especially Jane, might enjoy that. But the point is what we're doing is we're creating a structure to support something that is really intimate, personal, and important to us. So I just want to make sure that's clear because sometimes when we get tools like this, so much of it can be oriented around success and growth, and those things are important. But remember, success and growth are applicable in many areas of life. It could be health, it could be business, it could be relationship, and it could be arguably one of the most intimate and challenging parts of life, and that is healing from the loss of a loved one. So the book is intended, the journal's set up for you to mold to whatever your specific needs are in a time, and whatever that is for you is absolutely perfect and completely okay with you. It's called My Daily Accountability Journal for a reason. It's not mine, it's not Jane's, it's yours. And
Mm.
it's yours to use how you choose, and it's yours to mold and utilize in a way that is most relevant and useful for you.
Jesse, that's beautiful. I just got goosebumps because I hear from so many people. Grief is a really big topic, as you can well imagine, for the next room. And you're right. Sometimes just getting up in the morning and the thought of having to do a load of laundry is daunting, because grief brain comes in where you're just
Yep.
foggy and you can't remember things. And this is a great idea. I love it. I will be sure to put a link for my daily accountability journal. If you are grieving, it's really cool. Like Jesse said, you can just pick, one small thing and then see how you do. And at the end of the 30 days, you may surprise yourself. You may return those
Yeah.
phone calls. You may have taken a walk every day where previously you sat in a chair and just cried. Sometimes getting outside and communing with nature is really all we need to kind of start our process of healing. So,
Yes.
great idea for grief with the daily accountability journal. What is up for you, Jesse Brisendine? What are you doing next? What's going on with you?
Gosh, Jane, that's I'm focused on this year really. This year, my number one, or not my number one, but my number one commitments is getting my PhD, what I'm calling my PhD in digital communication. And I say mean that is saying that I realize that for me to reach the audiences and make the impact I want to make, I need to become a better communicator in the digital space, right? There's nuances I'm starting to learn. There's little things that I'm understanding with it that are going to make me more effective with that. And it's interesting. I realize how important it is that if I really want to help people at the scale and scope I want to help people, I need to help people find me and connect with me first. And me just pumping out content or different things isn't necessarily the most effective way to do it. I need to communicate in a language that so many people are using now. So that's a big thing. The other thing is just really working on broadening messages out. I'm doing more speaking now. A couple workshops coming up that will be in the fall, and then I have two other books that I'm working on. One is targeted for the fall this year. The other one, which has been the passion project for a long time, you and I have talked about it, which is a book on healing from loss, will be sometime next year. So that one is the passion project I've been working on for I don't know how many years now, but I feel like it's next year is a reasonable timeline because I have to do the tall order of now taking all my notes, all this stuff. And Jane, I'm sure you can appreciate this as a writer. You know how, especially when it's the more, I think the more called the more emotionally heavy topics,
Yes.
sometimes you just allow yourself to write, right, to get it on paper and to get it out of you, get it on paper. Then what I realized for myself is going back to it, I have hundreds of pages that are some good stuff in there, but it's so all over the place. I need to organize it. So going back to this 30-day action plan or doing your daily goals, I get stuck with overwhelm just like anybody else. So it's about breaking it down to smaller chunks. Organize pages 1 through 10. What a great goal. Organize this pages 2 through 20. What a great goal versus going and looking at 250 pages of a manuscript or whatever it is, 70,000 words, and trying to look at that and say, God, 70,000 is such a big number. What would it look like if I just tackled 3,000 words a day? And then that's a much more manageable way to go about it.
I love it. Well, it sounds to me like you're gonna come back and see me again and again because
Yes.
my ears are perking up here.
And we'll
Uh,
have plenty of time, lots of all the technical difficulty stuff troubleshooted out and everything.
yeah, that sounds good, and may I suggest a very good, tool for you? It's called my
Please.
daily accountability journal.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you for being here today. I
Thank you.
absolutely adore you. You're just, you are a bright light on the planet, and I am forever grateful that Pam Osley connected us all those years ago. So thank you for being here on the next room. The next room is, as you can see, it's not where death is dinner conversation all the time. We take it in all kinds of fun directions because to get to death, you got to have life. And it
Yep.
really is kind of one and the same, at least according to me. Thanks again to Jesse Brisendine for being my guest. I'll catch you again next week. And please, if you can be anything on the planet, please be kind. Thanks again.